when we're talking about Mormonism, okay, Mormonism is a religion that was started by a man named Joseph Smith. And I've got this book here. We actually have it on the table sometimes on Sundays. It's called Answers to My Mormon Friends. It's a good little handbook. It doesn't get too deep into anything, but gives a good primer of what Mormons believe. And on the back of this book, it says, Mormonism must stand or fall on the story of Joseph Smith. He was either a prophet of God divinely called, properly appointed and commissioned, or he was one of the biggest frauds this world has ever seen. There is no middle ground. If Joseph was a deceiver who willfully attempted to mislead people, then he should be exposed. His claims should be refuted, and his doctrines shown to be false. And the person who gives us that quote is not a Christian. It's Joseph Fielding Smith, a descendant of Joseph Smith, a former president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So even the church, the Mormon church, hangs their belief on the testimony of Joseph Smith. So when we start with Mormonism, let's start with this man, Joseph Smith. So Joseph Smith is born in 1805. He's born in Vermont. At some point, he ends up moving with his family to New York. And it's important here. I kind of just have the timeline. There's a lot more to embellish, and we'll do some as we have time. But when in Joseph Smith's time, where he's growing up, there's a couple of things that are going on. One is the Second Great Awakening. And so there's a lot of preaching that's coming into town. He's hearing a lot of preaching. His mom is a Presbyterian. His dad is basically unchurched. And there's a lot of denominations. There's a lot of fire and brimstone preaching. And so he's being exposed to the gospel. He's being exposed to these Great Awakening preachers. But he himself is not grounded at all. Because the other thing that's going on during his time is Joseph Smith is a treasure hunter. He would go out in the woods and with his friends, and he would hunt for treasure. And he would hunt for treasure using occult practices. He would use these things called seer stones and divining rods. And he would claim to have visions and to find different treasure. And him and the people he grew up with, that was a thing that they did. That was a thing that they practiced. Okay? So we got a man who's been exposed to the gospel, exposed to the word of God, but not according to truth. And we also have a man who's involved in these occult practices. Okay, so that's kind of like where we're starting with Joseph Smith. Okay, so in 1820, at about 14, 15 years old, he gets his first vision. And he gets his first vision, he claims, from God the Father and Jesus Christ in a grove that's telling him that all the churches and all the denominations that are around at his time are all false. None of them are the true church. None of them are giving the true gospel. They're all false. Interesting. A few years later, he's visited by this angel Moroni who tells him of golden plates that are buried in the hill Cumorah. So this angel appears to him in his sleep and gives him this vision that there are these golden plates that are buried in this hill. We got some buried treasure that's close to your house. And we have an angel telling about this. Remember in Galatians 1, we were talking about whether you get that gospel from another man, from an angel, right? We got to test to see what he got. All right. Now, between 1823 and 1827, he doesn't actually get to collect the plates until 1827, so 4 years from the time he sees the vision. And he's got to go out every year and prove himself to be holy in order for the angel to deem him worthy to receive the plates, okay? It's getting kind of strange, but we're just getting started. 1826, Joseph Smith is charged. He's actually arrested for being a disorderly person and an imposter, because he was using a seer stone and convincing these landowners to dig for buried treasure. I mean, he was telling these landowners, hey, you've got gold buried under here. You've got to start building a mine. We've got money in Pennsylvania. And people are taking him at his word and expending money to go do all of these things. And none of these things came out to be true. And I mean, there's court records have him as a disorderly person and an imposter, okay? So we have a man who's not a Christian, a liar who's involved in these occult practices, claiming to see visions from angels. Okay, this should all raise some red flags for us. So in 1827, finally, Joseph receives these golden plates from Moroni. And these golden plates he claims to be the Book of Mormon. These golden plates claim to be the Book of Mormon. And the Book of Mormon claims to teach that the true church, okay, came out of Jerusalem back in 600 BC. This group of Jews came. They left Jerusalem. They traveled across the ocean and came to around Central America, okay, before Columbus, which is interesting. They got there. There's a couple of different groups. We're not going to get into all the details. There's a lot going on here. But suffice to say this, there's a lot of fighting back and forth. And Jesus Christ, supposedly after he resurrects, he appears to this group in the Americas and creates his true church among them. And so the Mormon teaching is that the true church started in this area of Central America, okay? These Native American people, but they're really Jews that were transplanted to America. And Jesus appears to them, but around 400 AD, they end up all dead in a battle, and Mormon, this prophet record keeper, transcribes some things to his son, Moroni. His son Moroni hides these plates, passes away, and now over 1,000, we're something like 1,800 years late. I mean, how many years later at this point, Joseph Smith is revealed by the angel Moroni of these golden plates that were containing the Book of Mormon to continue the true church that was lost back in 400 AD. Is this making any sense to anybody? Is anybody following this so far? Okay, thank you, Chris. All right, so the Book of Mormon, okay, that's being translated in Moroni, these golden plates. He claimed that they were in a language called Reformed Egyptian, okay, and the way that the translation occurred is only 11 people were shown these plates, and the Mormon Church used to teach that Joseph Smith would basically sit and read these plates. He was given these special glasses from the angel to interpret the plates, and he would dictate and somebody would write it down. What has always been true, and what they've since conceded because people have asked questions, is the way Joseph Smith actually translated the golden plates is he would have a hat, and he would take the same seer stones that he used and that he was in court for to find buried treasure. He'd put the stones in the hat, and he would take his head and bury it in the hat, and he would see visions. And he would have the golden plates, somewhere aside, and he would dictate from looking into the hat what those golden plates supposedly said. And that is how we have the Book of Mormon. I'm not making any of this up. If we had a Mormon missionary sitting with us right now, he would have to agree with everything that I'm saying. This is exactly what is taught. This is it. This is it right here. Okay. Now, the Book of Mormon itself, if you took the time to read any of it, so much of it is just plagiarized directly from the King James Bible. Even the italicized words, which is very interesting. And in fact, one of the criticisms that even scholarship has against the Book of Mormon is if it was written in the 1800s during a time when Elizabethan English wasn't even being used, then why was it translated everything in the King James English if it was supposed to be some revelation? Later on in his life, Joseph Smith would make corrections to the King James Bible, which is interesting though, because those corrections weren't in the Book of Mormon. So if it was good enough for the Book of Mormon when it was written in 1830, then why was it changed later? Is this a holy book or is it not? A lot going on in the Book of Mormon. Another thing going on in the Book of Mormon is it's got a lot of historical inaccuracies. I mean, first of all, no archaeological evidence has been discovered to support the Book of Mormon. There's never been a Reformed Egyptian or Hebrew found in the Americas. They talk about animals like horses, which didn't make their way into the Americas until Columbus showed up in 1492. So we've got a little bit of an issue there. And we can go on, but what I want to kind of just lay out here, all right, is when you start with Joseph Smith and what we know about him so far and about how he translated the Book of Mormon, we're going to get into exactly what it says, but just right here, right now, we know we've got a false prophet and we got a false book. All right, so we got two things right there. We got a false prophet and we got a false book. Let's keep going. So 1831 to 1839, a lot going on around that time. So he starts the church in this town of Fayette, New York, ends up moving to Kirtland, Ohio. And what we'll see in the life of Joseph Smith and in that early Mormon church is they are constantly having to pack their bags and move elsewhere because they are getting kicked out of towns where they are inhabiting by the local populace who really thinks that they're crazy and is intimidated by them because they're using local politics and they're teaching all these things and different gods. And even the people then are like, hey man, what's going on here? And they get into physical violence with these people. I mean, there's a lot going on here. That's not really representative of what a Christian should be doing. And so in 1835, if I have this right, he translates the Book of Abraham.